Hey everybody, welcome back. Hope you had a great weekend. I sure did. It was very nice indeed. So today we're reading Joseph's chapter, and he's somewhere on the Atlantic Ocean in 1939. All right. Joseph watched his sister splashing around happily in the swimming pool on A deck. Other kids chased each other around the promenade, watched movies, played shuffleboard. For as much as he wanted to grow up, Joseph wished now that he had joined them, to be a little kid again, cheerfully oblivious to what was going on around him. But he wasn't a kid anymore. He had responsibilities, like keeping his sister and his mother safe. Papa had told him what the concentration camps were like, and he couldn't let that happen to Ruthie and his mother. Are you ready? It was Posner. He stood in the shadow of a smokestack looking around nervously. Joseph nodded. He had agreed to help take over the ship. He had to do something, and this was the only thing he could do. What about Scheindlich and his firemen? Joseph asked as they walked. We've got a distraction for them down on D deck, but we have to move fast. The rest of the group came together near the social hall. There were 10 men, including Joseph, and they all carried metal candlesticks and pieces of pipe. Some of the men were Papa's age, like Posner, and some of them were in their 20s. Joseph was by far the youngest. 10 men, Joseph thought? A minion. 10 Jews come together not to worship, but to mutiny. Posner put a small length of lead pipe in Joseph's hand, and suddenly the weight of what Joseph was about to do was very real. Lead on, Posner said. Joseph took a deep breath. There was no turning back now. He led his fellow mutineers into the maze of crew corridors. Just outside the bridge in the chart room where all the maps were stored, they came across Ostermeyer, the first officer. He looked up from the map cabinet with a surprise, but before he could do anything, Posner and one of the other men grabbed him and pushed him through the door to the bridge. Joseph was startled by how rough they were being with Ostermeyer, but he tried to swallow his fear. Taking over the ship was not going to be easy, and this was only the start. There weren't as many people on the bridge as there had been when Joseph visited, just one officer and 3 sailors. The sailor at the ship's helm saw them first, and he let go of the steering wheel to dive for the alarm. One of the passengers got to him first, slamming into the helmsman and sending him tumbling to the floor. The, the mutineers quickly surrounded the other sailors, threatening them with their makeshift clubs. And they had done it, just like that. They had taken the bridge. Joseph's heart raced as he looked around, wondering what was next. Stretched out before them was the great blue Atlantic Ocean, and beyond that, still days away, Germany and the Nazis. Up on the little platform at the back of the room, the steering wheel teetered back and forth, and Joseph wondered crazily if he should jump up there and turn the ship around himself. Send for the captain, Posner told the first officer. Warily, Ostermeyer went to the ship's intercom and summoned Captain Schroeder to the bridge. As soon as Captain Schroeder stepped into the bridge, he understood what was happening. He spun to leave, but Joseph and one of the other men blocked his exit. Who's in charge here? Captain Schroeder asked. And what do you mean by all this? Posner stepped forward. You mean to save our lives by taking over the ship, he said, and sailing it to any other country but Germany? Captain Schroeder put his hands behind his back and walked to the middle of the bridge. He looked out at the ocean, not Posner. The other passengers will not support you, and my crew will overpower you, he said matter-of-factly. All you're going to do is lay yourselves open to a charge of piracy. Posner and the others looked around at each other nervously. Joseph couldn't believe they were so easily losing their resolve. We'll hold you here as hostages, Joseph said. They'll have to do as we say. Even Joseph was surprised he'd spoken up, but his words seemed to put a little more steel back into the mutineers' resolve. Captain Schroeder turned to look at Joseph. The crew will obey only me, he said calmly, and I will give no order, no matter what you do, that will make my ship set off course. And without that order, you can do nothing. What will you do, pilot the ship yourself? Joseph blushed and stared at the ground, remembering his crazy urge to take the wheel when he didn't even know how it worked or where to go. Captain Schroeder helped his fallen helmsman back to his feet and led him to the steering wheel. The man was still shaking from the attack, but he took the helm and straightened the ship on course. You have done enough already for me to prefer serious charges against you, Captain Schroeder said, still frustratingly even-keeled. If I do, I can assure you that you will still most certainly be taken back to Germany, and you know what that means." Joseph steamed. He did know what that meant. But did Captain Schroeder know? Really know? How many Germans still understood what was happening in the concentration camps? Joseph knew, because his papa had told him, had shown him when he jumped overboard and tried to kill himself. Joseph wasn't about to let his mother and sister end up in one of those camps. "You would do that to us?" one of the men asked the captain. "You are doing it to yourselves," Schroeder said. "Listen, I understand and sympathize with your desperation." Posner huffed. "You have no idea what we've been through, any of us." Captain Schroeder nodded. "No, you're right. But no matter what you've done, what they've done to you, what will be done to you, what is going now is a real criminal act. By law, I should have you all thrown into the brig. But I'm willing to overlook all this if you leave the bridge right now and give me back your word that you will take no such further action." Joseph scanned the faces of his co-conspirators and saw only panic and fear. "Surrender." "No," Joseph told them. "No," he told the Captain Schroeder. "My father told me what happened to him in those camps, and I can't let that happen to my mother and my little sister. We can't go back to Germany." The first officer took that moment to try and pull free from the men holding him. There was a struggle. The other sailors moved to help him, and the other mutineers flinched, ready to fight. "Ostermeyer, no," Captain Schroeder commanded. "Cease and desist. That's an order." The first officer froze, and Posner froze too, the lead pipe in his hand still raised in threat. Nobody moved. The captain raised his hands. "I promise you, men," he said quietly, his voice almost a whisper. "I promise you, on my honor as a sea captain, that I will do everything possible to land you in England. I will run the ship around there if I must, but you must stand down and promise me no further trouble." Posner lowered his pipe and agreed, he said. "No, no," Joseph wanted to argue, but everyone else agreed. Joseph threw his pipe to the ground and left without the other men. They were going back to Europe, and there was nothing he could do about it. All right, stay tuned next time, which means right away, because we're going to read Isabel next. All right.